Hey guys, this is the Writing Prompt channel. Here, we take posts from Reddit and read out loud the best stories with the help of a bot. Enjoy this amazing story. The Writing Prompt by Usanathnugz 4590. After sitting in a room of people for a few minutes, you suddenly hear an announcer say, "Sudden death. Go." Quote. Here is the amazing story made with the help of the prompt by UserShop. Growing up, John had wanted to be a firefighter. He had always found the brave men and women admirable. There was something about those who were willing to put themselves in harm's way to help others in their time of need. When the motorcycle accident shattered most of the bones on his right side, John understood instinctively that his dream had died along with his triumph Bonneville. And that's why he found himself, 1 year later, sitting in a nondescript room alongside a number of young men, answering a job advert promising attractive wages in a downtown office. It wasn't the future he had envisioned, wasn't even remotely close. As a matter of fact, the listing was so vague that John had exactly zero idea what he was signing up for. The dozen or so job seekers sat in white plastic chairs lining the tiled walls. Some of them muttered softly, rehearsing what they've prepared. Others were tapping on their phones, seemingly unworried about the upcoming interview. Still others sat with their eyes closed. John thought perhaps one or two of them had actually fallen asleep. But when the speaker buzzed to life in a burst of static, the room looked up collectively. "Sudden death. Go." Quote. The men eyed one another, varying degrees of puzzlement coloring their faces. A trapdoor on the ceiling slid open in a soft hiss, and an assortment of antiquated weapons rained down. There were maces and flails, swords and spears, and a few others John couldn't put a name to. A morbid understanding slowly seeped into the room, twisting the looks of bewilderment into ones of hostility. The heroism in John woke from its long slumber, immediately recognizing the danger at hand. He stood up in a two-step motion, wincing slightly at the pain in his hip. "Now wait just a moment. Let's." Before he could finish, one man responded by dashing at the pile of weapons. Others swiftly followed. The first victim fell limply in the center of the fray, struck down by a frantically swung sledgehammer. As the consequence of the event established itself, the room fought with increased fervor, each man desperate to survive. Blood sprayed across the room, painting the walls in displays of anguish. A mask of horror on John's face. He watched helplessly as the men tore themselves apart. He tried to speak, to say something, anything, that might end the violence. But no words came. Tears streamed down his eyes, and anger rose in heart. John was a big man. If his body were whole, he could have stopped the misery or be the first to control the weapons maybe. Or perhaps speak with enough authority to end the hysteria. Anything probably, just not this. John slumped back into his chair, and rested his face in his hands. He was tired. Too tired to deal with a world that suddenly stopped making sense. The clash of weapons and screams of suffering withered gradually, until all John could hear was one man's ragged breath. He looked up at the survivor. The man was soaked in blood. A gash across his forehead flowed freely. His right arm hung limply by his side. John and the survivor stared at each other without moving. The moment stretched from one to the next, gliding silently forward. As the survivor moved towards John with death in his eyes, a hail of darts streamed down from the ceiling's trapdoor, covered in uncountable needles. The survivor managed a snarl before crashing to the floor. John felt relief and grief in equal measures. He remained seated, stunned. The buzz that heralded the men's doom sounded once more. "Congratulations, Mr. White. You've got the job." The end. Thank you guys for checking out this channel. Please subscribe, like and share this video. See you in next one. Thank you and goodbye.